Welcome to the X Block.
Am I right, Marine?
Sir, yes, sir!
Then listen up.
You're listening to the X Block. I'm Jarren and he's Caleb. Let's get into it.
You are listening to the X Block episode 5. I'm your host Jarren and I'm joined by Caleb.
Hey.
And this is episode 5. Shocking, we're already here. And let's get it out of the way early this time, Caleb.
Okay.
If you are listening to this podcast, please go follow us on Twitter at XBlockPodcast, and then you can see basically what we're going to talk about this week because we retweet things out all week long.
Oh, you nailed it too, man. We have a TikTok and we're on Google Podcasts now. That apparently works.
Yep.
So we made that happen. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, if you're listening there, Spotify, all these nice places. Jarren edits nice TikToks every week that some of you haven't seen. I know you haven't. I'm looking at you. You haven't seen the TikToks, have you? Well, Jarren edits them, and they're pretty funny. And they're usually making fun of me. So you need to go check those out for real.
They are always making fun of you.
I know. It's really annoying, actually. I have no control.
Well, you could always veto one.
Yeah, I mean, I could, but like, how often would you listen to that, you know?
If you had a legitimate reason to veto, I'll give you like one veto a month.
I'm going to let even the ones I don't like go up because you're smarter than me sometimes, so probably you know what to put up that's going to make the people laugh, which is anything making fun of me.
All right, and shout out to the Google Podcast people because we didn't advertise to you at all, and you came out to be 7% of our overall listeners, so that was pretty hype.
Yeah, we only launched with like one episode on there, too. All the episodes are on there now, but we've only been on Google Podcasts, I think, since the episode 4, and got a few people listening on Google Podcasts, so shout out to you Google folk.
Yeah, so basically thanks to everybody who follows us on all our platforms, and if you haven't gone to some of them, go to the ones that Caleb said.
Yeah.
Now let's hop into the show. So Caleb, what have you been playing this week?
Chinese Master Chief Collection. I finally started it. I beat Halo 1 on Legendary again. Got the par score on every mission except I think 1. And I'm like 3-4 missions deep into Halo 2 on Legendary. Having a blast. But the Chinese version of the Master Chief Collection, if you want more of a story on that, I think I talk about it in episode 3 in the beginning, if you want to go listen to that. But in the Chinese version of Halo the Master Chief Collection, there's like a few weird things, like because of some Chinese rating bullshit, like there's no blood when you shoot people, like you shoot the Covenant or whatever, and their bodies, like when they fall on the floor, they like disappear, like they shrink into a single point within like a second or two of them dying, and so it's very off-putting. And it makes the game harder when you get to, like, I think Halo 3 and, like, the flood forms can, like, infect the, like, dead people, you know, and then they come back to life. Because they can still do that. It's just that, like, they're invisible. And it's, like, this whole weird thing. Anyway, I've been playing Halo Master Chief Collection Chinese, and then Call of Duty Modern Warfare with some friends sometimes, and then Saints Row the Third Remastered with you.
Yep.
That's been a hell of an experience. But, yeah, that's basically all I've been playing this week.
Yeah, that game is trash in a burrito that is sometimes fun.
It really is, though. Like, I don't know what it is about the original one we played on the... I guess it wasn't even the original, because did we play the 360? We played the Xbox One version, right?
I think we played the Bat Compat version, didn't we?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it feels like that one runs better. Whatever the other one is. Feels like it plays and runs better. I don't know what that is. I feel like we had fewer issues. I don't recommend you buy Saints Row the Third Remastered. And we had to wait like a year and a half or two or some nonsense for it to go on sale for like less than $30, which, first of all, smart on us, but second of all, still not worth it.
It's like if you think back to it, maybe we were just like in our younger times and we were more accepting of the old version. Like maybe we had lower standards. Maybe we were like that girl in high school who hasn't realized she's hot yet. And then she goes to college and she gets way more attractive boyfriends. But in high school, you were looking at her boyfriends like, what the hell were you doing? Maybe that was us. We just hadn't crested the hill yet and realized what true gaming was.
Dude, nah, I've been smart forever. That's different. I've always known, dude. Nah. I mean, you're probably right, but I'm just for the sake of argument, I'm going to say nah.
I have been playing the Outer Worlds DLC.
I saw.
So far, forgot how good that game was.
Yeah, I've been telling you to play the first Outer Worlds DLC, but you waited for the most recent one, the Murder on Aradnis, whatever it's called, to come out.
Yeah.
And, you're playing Perils of Gorgon, right?
I'm still playing Perils of Gorgon right now, yeah.
How you liking it?
So far, it's pretty rock solid. I'm enjoying it. The characters are solid. I liked getting back into my character. Totally forgot what she was all about, but hopped back in and I was like, oh yeah, true, I'm a girl in in a red suit, and this is pretty fun. I'm having a good time playing that. That game feels good to play, especially at the 60 frames per second now.
Oh yeah, I haven't jumped back in since they added that, but my character's name's Barry Bonahue. I remember that, I think. The Perils of Gorgon DLC, pretty solid expansion, but I'm gonna play the Murder of Eratnas soon. Probably, I may have something to say about it next week or the week after.
Yeah, I think last week I said I was going to play Assassin's Creed, but then I just decided to play this DLC instead.
That's fair. It's somewhat substantial. It's like short enough to where it's like not a huge investment. Like I assume both of them, but they're like long enough to where they're like worth your money, you know? So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it sounds like the first one's like 8 to 10 hours from what I saw in True Achievements, but then the second one is like 5 to 7.
Okay, well, hope you have fun with that. Seems like the new DLC, people like it, so excited to play that.
Yeah, the one thing I am going to say quickly before we move on to the actual section is Microsoft Rewards kind of shafted me on that one. It only counts to give you the extra bonus points if you buy the normal version. It doesn't count if you buy the Seasons Pass.
Yeah, dude, I noticed that too, because I was looking to see, because I was like, did I not buy like the Season Pass or the DLC or whatever? I'm like, I thought I like purchased these beforehand. For those of you who don't know, if you go to the Microsoft Rewards app on your Xbox, they have like different numbers of rewards points they'll give you for if you do certain things, and like basically translates to like real money, you know, like an actual substantial amount of money. It's probably like $1.50 if you buy the Outer Worlds DLC or Season Pass or whatever Jarren said. And yeah, however I purchased it or acquired it was not the way it wants you to, and so I didn't get credit for that either, because I downloaded it and I was like, oh yeah, it's in my ready to installs and everything, the new DLC, and I went to like check the thing to like give me the points, and it was like, nah, you gotta buy this other thing, and I'm like, what? Why?
Yeah, it's too bad. The other thing that was too bad this week is not enough people tweeted at The Rock, and he didn't reach out to us, and we didn't get our fridge. So, you know, I know you guys are just starting to listen to us. You got to hit up The Rock though and ask him where the fridge is at.
Maybe in the future when we have a large enough, you know, army of people, we can go storm someone's house and take it, you know? But until then, we just need The Rock to send us one.
And while we wait for The Rock to send us the fridge, we might as well move on to the actual show. So let's get outside the box.
I'm thinking outside the box,
where we cover all the news you need to know outside the Xbox community. All right, this is Outside the Box, where we cover all the news you need to know outside of the Xbox community. And the first on the docket, the BAFTAs, because the British needed their own show, apparently.
They really did, yeah.
And I like how I wrote in the doc, I wrote, where are the Uganda Game Awards? Because that I'd watch. I'd be there day one for that.
I'd watch the Uganda Game Awards too, man, not gonna lie. That'd be hype.
And it seems like, at least in my opinion, the BAFTA Game Awards seem to have a better understanding of Game Awards than the actual Game Awards. They decided to give Hades Game of the Year. It is the big winner. It takes home 5 prizes, including Best Game.
That's a good call. Yeah, the BAFTAs are pretty esteemed as a awards organization or whatever. Hades, Best Game, I'd go with that. That's a good call.
Yeah, as long as it's not Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake can eat my poo-poo.
And it shouldn't be Last of Us, because it's just too all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, you played it. You played both of the Last of Us games. Big fan. So I'll let you tell me about that. But
yeah, the one thing I was confused about was Doom Eternal not nominated for Best Game.
You know what? Maybe they don't know what's going on over there at the BAFTAs. You know what I mean? Maybe I take it back a little bit. Where's Doom?
Yeah, they had Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales, the 7-hour experience, instead of Doom.
Yeah, why? How do you leave Doom out? What do you have against first-person shooters over there at the BAFTAs?
Yeah, they have a category called Best British Game, and somehow Sackboy won over Fall Guys. Fall Guys was like a year-defining game until Among Us came out, and they were like, yo, you know what beats that? Sackboy, the game that I'm pretty sure is only on the PS5, so if in Britain, that probably means 2,000 people played it based on the amount that scalpers were buying PlayStation 5s over there.
Yeah, Fall Guys looks more fun, but I also haven't played the Sackboy adventure game, so maybe it's like super fucking good and I just don't know.
Yeah, I guess fair enough. Evolving game, they gave that to Sea of Thieves, so we actually got some Xbox love for once.
And Rare's actually a UK studio.
Yeah, so they're showing some love to their fellow UK people over there, finally giving Xbox a win.
Yes. Indeed. It deserves it. With Sea of Thieves, great game.
And then, obviously, Hades picked up a bunch. Somehow, Animal Crossing New Horizons won multiplayer game of the year, and Among Us wasn't nominated?
Listen, all you Animal Crossing people out, like my girlfriend plays Animal Crossing, dude. I've seen it. I sat there and watched her play for like 40 minutes one time, and I was like, you just know something I don't. I mean, there's 30 million of you or whatever the hell Animal Crossing sold at this point, and I'm like, surely I'm the dumb one. Surely there's something here that I'm missing. So I'll just let you have it. Just fuck it.
One other thing I thought was funny was they have this category called Performer in a Leading Role, and they gave that to Laura Bailey as Abby. But they also had Performer in a Supporting Role, and that was Logan Cunningham in Hades, and it says Logan Cunningham as Hades, Achilles, Poseidon, Astrius, Charon, and Storyteller in Hades.
That doesn't sound like a supporting role.
He was every character in the game, and because some of the characters were supporting, that counts as a supporting role?
I don't know, man. Seems like you got shafted a little bit. No offense to Laura Bailey. She's pretty talented.
So essentially everybody in The Last of Us Part 2 was nominated. Thankfully, they gave it to Logan Cunningham, as the man literally voiced the entire cast of Hades that won Game of the Year.
Yeah, BAFTA's over there killing it.
All right, actually, no, I'm putting a no on the BAFTAs right here. It's over, Caleb. I'm canceling them. They're done.
We're canceling them? Like the
Yep.
BAFTAs are completely over as an award show?
Yep, I don't recognize them anymore.
Okay, Jarren decided. That's not... Jarren. We do not support the BAFTAs here at the X Block Podcast.
And I'm going to tell
There you
you
go.
why right here. Technical achievement, all right?
Okay.
Demon Souls nominated. Didn't win.
Ooh.
Didn't win, but okay, fine, nominated. Doom Eternal, one of the best shooters, nominated. Didn't win.
Okay.
Dreams, the game Dreams, was nominated. That game won.
Calling that game a game is such a... just giving it too much, man.
Okay, that's technical achievement. And you can say, fine, Dreams did all this, Dreams did all that. And to that, I say, okay, here's the next game that was nominated and didn't win. Microsoft Flight Simulator. Literally revolutionized the PC gaming community. It is a game that pushes current hardware to the next level. They created an entire cloud system so they could make an entire generation of the world. And that game isn't the most technical achievement. Like, get out of here with your self-British promotion and giving it to Dreams.
Dude. Listen, Microsoft Flight Simulator, if you guys go read about it, because you may not know, you may be a little ignorant. That game's apparently, which it's on PC, apparently fucking amazing. Like 10 out of 10. Like, go read some of the reviews that came out, or about it when it came out, and how, like, people basically just rave, and they're like, I've never experienced anything like this. Like, this is truly revolutionary with the cloud technology and the weather dynamics and all this other stuff that they use to make the world actually look like it does in the game. Apparently, it's a spectacular thing you just have to experience. And apparently, the creation tool / social media platform that Dreams created is that something they value higher than the cloud technology running Microsoft Flight Simulator? Yeah,
they made Project Spark, but 5 years later, and somehow it is the more technical achievement than probably the greatest technical achievement in video games in the last decade.
Oh, and by the way, I've told Jarren I informed Jarren about this one time. I don't want to hear that Microsoft Flight Simulator is too niche, because it has more players than Control, which is a critically acclaimed, multiple Game Awards type nominated-esque game that's discussed in the industry. Literally, it has more players than Control.
I bet you it has more players than Control and Dreams put together.
It actually might. That's possible. I don't know. I know it has like over, I think, 3 million or so. What was it at this point? I don't know. As of the end of last year, there were like reports. They each reported basically their numbers at that point. And Microsoft Flight Simulator has more. Although they talked about it in, like, I don't know if it was on Reddit or somewhere else, but they did talk about it. So anyway, it's a little bit of a tangent, but yes, we do not support them over here anymore. They are no longer welcome.
Yep, I thought you guys were good until I got to there, and I was like, nope, you guys are done. And moving on to other kind of weird and bizarre news, but I guess possibly expected, Sony is closing old storefronts. Now, this hasn't been confirmed by Sony, but it has been confirmed by like 6 different news websites.
Have they confirmed it or reported on it?
The Gamer originally reported on it.
Yeah.
Then people said that might not be true, like commenters, not other news articles. Then other people came out and started corroborating it, including Game Industry Biz and IGN, also like saying that it will come based on sources that they've heard.
Okay, so I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. I also listened to Sacred Symbols, which is like a PlayStation podcast. The host there was like a former senior editor at IGN, and he said that he's also a game dev, and so he got a PlayStation Vita dev kit in I don't know, less than a month ago, and so like they sold one to him and like their studio. So it's like he was like, well, they could just not know, like the people that he got it from and the people like in charge of that other shit on Sony could not know, but they're like their game's actively in development for the Vita. Apparently one studio is making a game that's like actively titled, it's like its code name is Last Vita Game, because apparently they're actually, I guess they were told that their game's going to be the last Vita game that's published on the storefront or some nonsense. I don't know if any of this is true or to what degree, and it seems like nobody really knows. It's kind of just like speculation, and everyone's like, yeah, I could see that happening, but if it doesn't, I guess it doesn't. The question is whether they're going to pull like a Wii storefront thing where like you can't, I'm pretty sure with the Wii, you can't even like download your games anymore if you bought them on the Wii storefront, whereas if they do it this way, you assume that the storefront, you'll still be able to download all your titles from like the Vita and PS3 and shit. You just won't be able to buy anything anymore? Is that what we're saying?
That's what has at least been reported, but there hasn't been anything confirmed either way that you will still be able to get your games.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of what we'll see. At some point, it doesn't make sense for Sony to keep these storefronts open, like on their end, especially being like a smaller company relative to like a Microsoft where you could just put two dudes on a desk and never worry about it ever again. But we'll see. I mean, it's been reported. People are kind of confirming it. Some people, it's a little skeptical, though, and a little scattered. And Sony hasn't said anything yet. But they usually don't comment on, like, rumors and shit like that. So I don't know. We'll see.
See, now here, Caleb, I'm going to double down on the rumor mill here and possibly connect them together.
Okay, go ahead. Do it for me.
So I went out and found this on Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit.
Okay.
And then IGN talked about it after I had found it. So I'm going to say that adds some credence to it. But PlayStation has patented the ability to add trophies to older emulated games.
Oh, yeah. That was talked about on Sacred Symbols. Yeah, that's it. That's just, a possible avenue for them to actually have a reasonable, like, backwards compatibility, right? If they're doing that. Because they had, like, 6 people on the patent or some shit, right?
Yeah, but what I'm going to say here is
go for it.
Possible speculation. I think Sony's closing their old digital store, and then they're going to take the games that they want out of the digital store where you can't download the games that you own anymore, not make them backwards compatible, add trophies to them, and sell them as new games on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 storefront.
That would be pretty lame of them to do for consumers, but smart for them as a business, I guess, which is a lot of times what Sony does.
Because I think that's a full Nintendo move right there. Can't put
That's
all your
a
old games away
move.
and add trophies to them and then put them out as new releases.
See, for someone like me, it would kind of be cool because then I'd get to like buy, even though like we both win, like I'd get to go for the achievements or the trophies or whatever in that situation, and it'd be fun for me to like give me a reason to play the old games again. But for them, they get money. But for most people who don't give a flying fuck, seems kind of lame if they bought a game and then they can't access it because you close the old storefront, but then just re-release them on this new storefront because your engineers are too fucking lame to be able to figure out how to make backwards compatibility work on your new hardware like they did at Microsoft. Literally, they emulated the backwards compatibility software, whatever the fuck, onto the Xbox One because it can't natively run those games backwards compatible.
Yeah, and because Microsoft has accomplished that, that means that we won't have a similar situation like this coming to Microsoft anytime soon. They may close the old storefront, but at that point, almost every game that is allowed to by publishers will be backwards compatible and be able to play on the Xbox. So therefore, this being an Xbox podcast, we don't really need to talk too much about this. I just thought it was an interesting thing that we could maybe see a little bit into the future of what Sony was doing. And maybe us making fun of that idea that I just said that they might be thinking about. Maybe they'll hear this and they'll go back on it and help out the PlayStation fans.
That'd be nice. Yeah, I mean, just kind of another reason that we prefer the Xbox platform. Just we don't have to worry about that. And also,
not a concern.
I was gonna say, not as bad as Nintendo, because you know that like Mario 3D All Stars collection that they have?
The vault. Put it back in the vault like Disney.
Put that shit in the Disney vault, dude. They're like, yeah, we're gonna sell it till April and then never again. And you're like, what? What are you talking about? Who are you? When has that ever been done before? Where they're like, yeah, we're gonna sell it for a limited time, and then in 6 months, taking that shit down. And you're like, what?
Yeah, so we're just thankful in this instance to be part of the Xbox community. Not that I don't play games on PlayStation, because once the PS5's around, I fully will buy one.
Yeah, once games are on it, you mean like a lot of first parties release?
Yeah, I'm also just like waiting until it's a possibility for me to actually buy one.
That too. Yeah, good call.
So hopping on to the next segment, EA is gauging player interest in various features that could potentially be included in Battlefield 6.
And what are those features, Jarren?
A new or existing game mode that would be free to play, map updates, existing map changing parts of its components, the Fortnite element,
As we like to call it.
battle pass system, the every other multiplayer shooter game element, a guild/clan system in which players can join a group of up to 100 players to connect and play with. No one has 100 friends. Weapon blueprints, Call of Duty thing. So essentially, Battlefield 6 is finding a whole bunch of different ways to nickel and dime you, and they're asking you if it's okay so we don't have another Battlefront 2 situation when they do it and the entire system revolts and their game sells poorer than they expected to.
Yeah, Jarren's 100% right, actually. So that's exactly what they're doing. And it seems like, I would imagine some, if not all, a lot of these systems will probably end up being in Battlefield 6, just because of their prominence and things like, I don't know, even Halo the Master Chief Collection has a quote-unquote battle pass now. It's just nothing you have to pay for. You just unlock it through playing the game, and it gives you like skins and stuff like that. It's pretty. I mean, they do it in a good way, I would think, but it seems pretty common now in a lot of these shooters, and they're probably gonna see it in Battlefield 6. I wouldn't hold your breath.
Yeah, I like that EA's at least testing it out because they've realized that their players aren't as used to being fucked in the ass as Call of Duty's players are.
Oh yeah.
So when they do shit like this, it a lot of time causes a revolution. I think it largely caused a revolution last time, though, because it was the Star Wars IP, and that brought over a bunch of people who were like, wait, what is this shit? This is shit that we don't deal with normally because we don't all just play Call of Duty like all the 12-year-olds.
Exactly. And they're like, I don't want to play as a pink Darth Vader. That's sacrilegious.
Yeah. If you don't want these ideas, go to the EA subreddit and review bomb their posts like you did last time, and then I'm sure they won't put these in the game because they actually worry about shit like that.
Yeah, the best thing EA ever did was let Joseph Ferris make his games.
That is very true. Now the next topic, I guess you could say more of a serious one. We have Kotaku calling this the war crime game, and it is simply a war game that is set in, I guess, a time period and a battle that everybody is taking as promoting war crimes in a video game. And this is the 6 Days in Fallujah game. In terms of how this game actually looks from the trailer, I'm not going to say this is going to be some world-defining video game, and I think it's honestly getting 10 times the press that it would have got if these people just didn't talk about it, it's crazy that all these people are on the internet and they still don't understand how the internet works. They assume because they can cancel a Harry Potter writer or whatever he was, creative director, and they can cancel all these games.
I don't think he was a creative director, but yeah, he was a guy at the studio.
Yeah, whatever he was, that like they have this power to stop video games because I guess they did it once before, but they tried the same thing with Kingdom Come Deliverance, and then that game did better than it ever would have done if they hadn't talked about it. I assume this game will be very similar because it's getting far more eyes than it ever would have had. IGN ran a story on it, which Kotaku obviously didn't have to, or wasn't very happy with, as the title of this article is "You Don't Have to Run the Exclusive Reveal for the War Crime Game," and that's from Ethan Gach. I assume that's how you say your name.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned him before, and he calls it a war crime simulator, I think, in like the first sentence of that article.
Yeah, he says rebooted war crime simulator 6 Days in Fallujah got its official gameplay reveal yesterday.
Yeah, it's for those of you who don't know, I assume, this game was announced and people were mad about it because it was being rebooted. And it's about the battle in Fallujah, but now it's, like a decade removed from when it was supposed to come out and when the events were more relevant, I suppose. And what happened was someone at IGN, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, wrote a piece on the game. I haven't read it and I haven't actually seen it, but I've only heard about it through like other podcasts and things I listen to. I ran a piece that was like, kind of basically saying the same things that a lot of people are saying about the game and how it's not good. I don't know if he said it shouldn't exist, but it wasn't a good thing about the game, is all I'll say. Then Ryan McCaffrey over at IGN ran a normal feature of the game where they revealed the gameplay and he talked about the game, and it was a little more, it was positive more on it and all this other stuff. And then Kotaku didn't like that, so they wrote an article about Ryan McCaffrey's, who's basically the Xbox guy, by the way, over at IGN, wrote a piece about his feature on the 6 Days in Fallujah, basically saying, like, you don't have to do it, and Ethan Gach, like we said, is Gach, I believe, wrote it, and he basically calls it a war crime simulator, and says, basically, literally, you can go read it, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not making this up. He basically says that the game shouldn't exist, at all. Literally. So that's a hell of a take, very puritanical 1980s fucking Orwellian censorship type shit there, but
Yeah, and it's like, we have to see this game. Like, if they would have shown a trailer for Spec Ops The Line, for example, that was phrased in a different light, everyone would have said that game was a war crime simulator. That game has...
Well, that one's about you killing Americans. That's the whole premise of that game. It's great.
I know, but I mean, like, if you phrased that game's trailer in another sense, where it's all about the war crimes and stuff that have happened, and then that game becomes about killing Americans and all that kind of stuff, but that's where it goes.
Yeah, with white phosphorus.
Yeah, but where it starts, it seems like it's going to be your typical American game. And I'm not saying this game's going to have that much nuance to it. It has a lot of nuance in its gameplay features that have been revealed.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that stuff actually sounds quite interesting and seems like it could be beneficial to other first-person shooter games. And that you could get a lot of at least interesting stuff from what they're talking about. Obviously, who knows if they'll actually succeed on this. But there's been so many games that take place in times where stuff would have been considered a war crime. We literally just had Assassin's Creed Valhalla that glorified Vikings as the good guys.
Yeah, and it's all super hypocritical. It's true, by the way. That is crazy. And I noticed that when the game was coming out, I was just like, oh, that's kind of weird. That's not very accurate. And then I was like, well, that's fine. Moving on. And which is what these people should do. But yeah, I mean, if you want to go, I would refer people to Colin Moriarty's Twitter profile, where he basically shouted out or pointed to a bunch of different hypocrisies by these different types of journalists and people, like these different hypocrisies about them having such a fuss over this game, but not things like Call of Duty World War II in 2017 made by Sledgehammer, I think, and a bunch of other shit, essentially, where like Call of Duty World War II wasn't really overt, didn't cover the entirety of World War II and all of the Japanese war crimes, even though it was set in a European theater. It didn't cover all the things about the horrible shit that Americans and obviously Nazis and other people did in Germany and to the west and France as they were making their way there, or on the eastern front of Russia. And it's seriously fucking complicated, and you can't tell that whole story in a game. And this is one game, and it actually seems to go more above and beyond to tell multiple perspectives or give the quote-unquote real experience of the people there than most games, with like their 100 interviews or some shit by real civilians and soldiers there. And it seems like they took some amount of care in making this game about a fucking battle in the Iraq War. And the gameplay looks cool in terms of like, it doesn't look like the best shooter ever, but the sound design is phenomenal, I'll say that. And then the fact that it's procedurally generated, like each time you play, is like supposed to, obviously for those of you who may not know, that means that like the environment and setting and like the houses and their layout and structure change based on like every time you play the game, procedurally generated. And so those environments are supposed to be confusing and different every time, just to kind of replicate the experience that the Marines felt while they were there in Fallujah on the streets, like based on the interviews that they got and all these other things. It seems like, I don't know why people say this game shouldn't exist, and as I've heard others say, like, why don't you just go make a game that tells the other side, like more of the other side, if that's what you're into? Like, why does the game have to be canceled? Like, why is there a petition online with a substantial following in the industry, an actual petition to stop this game from being developed?
Yeah, I don't know, because every single, and I mean that, every single Call of Duty, Battlefield, Medal of Honor, any of those games that have come out have all been pro-American and have ignored any kind of negative thing that Americans did during those times.
Yeah, for the most part, for what I can think of.
So why is this the game that we're supposed to stand up to? Call of Duty as our next segment, we'll just give a little, I guess, throw towards it here. The last segment of the Outside the Box is the next Call of Duty coming out, which is again going to be set in World War II. Are they going to cover, like Caleb said, all of the atrocities that take place in World War II?
They're not, and I wonder if they're probably going to write more about it now in order to seem less hypocritical, because if they don't now, then people are going to call them out more, because, old news is old, so, like, very few people go and dig up all the hypocrisies about their coverage of games before 6 Days in Fallujah. But now that like a new Call of Duty game's coming out, I'm sure you're probably going to see a lot of shit running the rounds because now they're like, oh shit, we got to cut. We got to really, look like we're actually have a stance now. But then again, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, this is also just an internet thing where if you're a person or a company doing something, then you're open to everyone on the internet going through all of your back catalog of stuff and checking your tweets and making sure that everything you've done in your life is virtuous and the proper thing to do. But if you're a news organization that is hypocritical on one story and then not hypocritical on the next, nobody says anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
So we don't hold the people who are supposed to cover our news and tell us things to the same standard that we hold a random person on the internet.
Yeah, and Jarren and I were talking about this a little before the podcast, and he made a great point where I'm like, yeah, well, it is pretty much a good thing though that IGN kind of covered both sides of the story, unlike like they actually did run a feature on this game and show the gameplay and other things. And then Jerem was like, yeah, but if that wasn't Ryan McCaffrey who pushed that, do you think it actually would have gotten written? And I'm like, no, probably not.
Yeah, IGN just would have doubled down on their stance on the game and shut it down. But because Ryan McCaffrey wanted to post it, then it gets through.
Yeah, he has a lot of clout at IGN. And I mean, maybe we're kind of speculating here. Maybe we're wrong, but it just comes off as I don't really think so. And yeah, this whole thing's weird. I don't know why people are calling to cancel art. It's very weird because I consider myself really socially liberal, and it seems like the people who are supposedly, not to get too political on this podcast, but the people who are like really progressive in that sense, or I guess you would say left leaning. I don't know why they're for canceling art and like and censoring things as if they're the Christian right of the 1980s. Like, I don't understand that. And by the way, I actually am academically versed in this particular issue and genre, not with the Iraq War, but the entire focus of my master's degree in history was 20th century American history, particularly like the 1940s, like the 1970s American wars in Asia. And I wrote my master's thesis. It's titled Exposing Evil. What is it? American atrocities in warfare from like 1941 through 1975. And basically I wrote about the media coverage of war atrocities in the Pacific War and World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War, and how these things were ignored and put under the rug and other types of things. Basically, I mean, it's a whole 58-page document or some shit. You can't read it, but it's pretty extensive. And then in with the My Lai massacre in Vietnam in 1968, kind of started a point at which people covered this stuff in the news more. Anyway, the point is, I actually know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. So, unlike most things where I know nothing.
As someone who's not well versed in history, the only thing I'm going to say is the one thing that makes history go by the wayside is this idea of not talking about it anymore.
Yeah.
So if you want people not to remember something, the best thing to do is not talk about it. So by shutting down all these games and things that go back to times that are harder for people to experience because they might have had to deal with them at the time, then everybody just ends up forgetting about this except the people that had to deal with it.
Yeah, I don't know how many people would have played this game if these people just didn't talk about it. I wouldn't have known about it, probably. I would never, and now I'm going to play it.
Yeah, I'll probably give it a shot. Why don't we move on to the actual big shooter that everybody cares about, and that's the next Call of Duty, rumored to be called Vanguard.
Yeah, this story, I know a bit about this. It was, I think, Modern Warzone, right, was the website that first reported the information, and then Eurogamer confirmed a lot of the information, but said that some of it was misleading, and then, or not misleading, but that they had some of their facts incorrect. And so the next Call of Duty is going to be titled Call of Duty World War II Vanguard, because I guess Call of Duty World War II wasn't enough. Because
no, you can't call it the same thing. Yeah, you can't call. You gotta add subtitles now.
I guess the Call of Duty brand has like lost so much of its luster. They just don't believe in it enough because it hasn't. It still has a fuck ton of players. But now that's instead of Call of Duty it's like Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and you're like, but what about it's just Black Ops? And like, Call of Duty World War II Vanguard. You're like, why do you have two subtitles? Just call it Call of Duty Vanguard.
The one thing I wanted to talk about here, because this is pretty straightforward news, it's that the game is probably set in World War II, and it will be called Vanguard. That's essentially the leak. Something that Modern Warzone said, which Eurogamer disagreed with based on their sources. So obviously we're leaning more towards Eurogamer as an actual news site. They say that it will be an actual World War II game, and it won't take place in 1950 in like kind of an alternate timeline of where World War II didn't end, like Modern
Yes.
Warzone kind of said it was possible because things they heard said that the game took place in 1950 and that was after the end of World War II.
There could be like an epilogue in the Korean War. I don't know.
I guess, but Eurogamer's saying no, it's a World War II game. I guess we'll take their word for it because I trust that they have more sources than Modern Warzone. That being said, boy, would I way rather have a game that had an alternative 1950s World War II that didn't end. That sounds like Call of Duty might actually be doing something interesting for once.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. I'm with you. I saw that too. The Eurogamer's like, yeah, they said there'd be alternate history, but we are pretty sure it's going to be straightforward World War II game based on our sources. And I was like, dude, that sucks. Like, it could have been like Call of Duty meshing with a bit of a Wolfenstein plot line, you know? It could have been different from the traditional Call of Duty World War II game.
Yeah, and you wouldn't have had the same maps that look like they do in every single World War II game, and you'll see the same 4 battles and 5 battles that you've seen in every World War II game that ever came out. It would have been so interesting to have this alternative history, and I hope Eurogamer's wrong about that, and maybe that's the thing that Activision said to their sources. They said, hey, don't confirm this part because that'll be the cool part in the trailer or something. I doubt it. I fully believe Eurogamer's right about this, and it is just a normal World War II game, but it would be so much better if it wasn't.
Yeah, it'd be so much more cool. I mean, honestly, I don't know enough about this yet, but I'm hoping that we're going to get a return to the Pacific Theater in this game, like of World War II. I find that one more interesting. I assume you'll get a lot of think pieces about that maybe now that if it does. Regardless, I assume it will, relating to our previous story we just discussed.
Yeah, as soon as Activision drops a trailer for it, I'm sure we will hear about everything to do with how graphic the game is, because Sledgehammer's games tend to be a little more graphic than everyone else's games, at least if you go back to the other World War II games. But does that mean that this is the game that got shelved and replaced by Black Ops?
That's what I was about to say. I'm pretty sure Sledgehammer was developing the game that didn't end up coming. Was it? It didn't come out? Or the campaign didn't come out. What was it? It was a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, they were making a Call of Duty game. They had Raven helping them, and the game wasn't getting far enough along, so Activision replaced them with Treyarch's game.
Yes, that's what I'm pretty sure happened. So I don't know if this game will have more development and be better or be worse. I'm not sure.
I'm hoping for a return to form in like the bloody multiplayer. Not that I'll probably play it, because at this point I'm just Activisioned out. And unless somebody buys me the game for Christmas or for my birthday, is like maybe I'll play Black Ops this year if someone buys it for me for my birthday. Maybe I'll play it then, but currently I have no interest in playing it or playing this one.
Yeah, I mean, the first I haven't played Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War yet, and that's like the first Call of Duty campaign I haven't played, this far after it came out. Like, usually I play them pretty quickly, just like the campaign and shit, but I haven't even bought the new one. I'm like, I don't know. I bought like every single Call of Duty since, except Black Ops 4, because it didn't have a campaign. This one I'm a little more interested in. I know it's running, or I think I read it that it's running on the same engine as the recent Modern Warfare game, so I'm a little more on board with that, if that's true. And yeah, I guess I'll see it when it gets announced with the trailer and shit.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about this more when they do their whole in-depth reveal of it that they do every single time at the exact same time. Probably expected in the end of May.
Yeah.
During the NBA playoffs.
That's a good call. That's probably, I mean, I don't watch the NBA, but that's a good call.
So basically the same time they do it every year. So I feel like that's a fair guess. And that is the end of our Outside the Box segment. We are now moving on to the review roundup.
In a world where reviews are too long to read and review videos are too long to watch, one man will compile all of the reviews and turn them into one easily digestible stream of information. This is the review roundup.
All right.
Now in this review roundup section, there were actually games that came out. There were multiple games that came out, but only one game that came out mattered. All right?
Here we go.
And that is Hazelight Studios' next game, Joseph Ferris's next game, It Takes Two.
God, I'm so excited to play this at some point, Jarren. How are the reviews looking, my friend?
I'm going to just read a couple of them to you. VG247, 5 out of 5. Honestly, It Takes Two is one of the most pleasant surprises in video games I've ever had. Games Radar, 5 out of 5. It Takes Two is a Pixar-worthy adventure that consistently innovates, offering players an excellent co-op experience unlike any other. VGC, 4 out of 5. With its relentless stream of clever ideas, It Takes Two is an innovative and entertaining two-player experience. You hear that, Caleb? Two fucking player experience.
Hell yeah, dude. We are a truly oppressed group.
We are. We wanted this. So PC Gamer, they gave it an 80. They're slacking a little there, but you know what? They still gave it a brilliant co-op adventure with a wild amount of variety. So you know what? I'll take an 80.
That's all I wanted.
Basically, everybody else has given it solid reviews. There have been some small knocks on the story, but all in all, this sounds like it's an innovative co-op experience, and Caleb and I have been dying for an innovative co-op experience, especially after being stuck with Saints Row this entire time. And I know GameSpot gave it a 9, so that's exciting. And honestly, I'd tell you more about the game, but I did not want to dive in that much and spoil the game for myself.
Yes.
That's how excited I am for this game. So I will give you the pre-approved, go and play it, especially if co-op games are your thing. If you're going to play this game by yourself and you're here for a story experience, this might not be the game for you, as some reviews have said the story isn't quite there. But that being said, reviewers are also sad people who play the game by themselves. So
that's true.
If you have a friend, get your one friend, play this game. That's all we're going to say here on the review roundup. There were a couple other games that came out this week. They don't matter. Some of them were bad, and I'm sure you know the game that I'm talking about. We're probably going to hit on it later in the FAF.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jarren and I, we have to finish Saints Row the Third and the DLC. And once we get through that nonsense, we can hop on in. And we already argue like an old married couple anyway, so it's probably gonna be pretty. I don't know, it's probably gonna hit close to home.
Yeah, we're gonna go to therapy like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. That's all I'll say, because I don't want to spoil that too much.
Don't spoil it too. Yeah, go ahead.
Moving on to our next segment, the X Block. And Caleb, the Xbox showcase has come, gone, and it proved me only half correct, which is a bummer.
Dude, seeing powers are kind of going down the toilet a bit, you know?
I called the Team 17 adding a game to Game Pass. I just did not pick the correct game.
See, are you 3.5 out of 4 guesses right at this point or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, that's not a bad record though. Pretty good.
So essentially, Xbox, we're going to talk about this showcase here. And I know we love Xbox, and I'm sure most of the people that listen to this podcast love Xbox. That being said, this show was 4.5 hours long.
Oh God, yeah. See, I didn't watch the whole thing, so I've only seen some trailers and pieces and things. And Jarren's gonna be more of our guide through this showcase. Yeah, that's 4.5 hours. That's God.
And I'm gonna be your guide here. All right, this show marketed as information about Stalker, new information about Stalker, and new information about Among Us. Both of these were saved relatively towards the end of the show, a 4-hour show. They were about 3 hours in, I'd say 3-something hours in. The 4 hours could have been IGN's like added on stuff where they talk. I'm not 100% sure. I dropped out at about 3 hours and 45 minutes because I had seen most of the games I wanted, and then I caught up on the trailers that came after that. That being said, Stalker and Among Us were the main things. As they talked about the entire show, the host said in the chat, everyone's excited for Stalker, everyone's excited for Among Us. Among Us came up first, I believe it was, and they showed us a trailer that they had previously showed, I believe, at the Game Awards when they first announced that new map. And it was the exact same trailer, and they talked about pretty much nothing, gave a little bit of news about hats and stuff, which I guess if you're into Among Us, hats is one of the major things they're adding to the game. But we didn't get a release date for the Xbox version. We already knew the release date for the map because it was announced before this Xbox showcase. And the hosts didn't really double down and ask any questions of relevance. The only reason we heard the Xbox version would 100% come out in 2021 was because the community manager brought it up themselves before they left.
Okay. I don't know why this game would be that hard to port over to Xbox. So I don't think it would get delayed or anything crazy like that.
I'm gonna cut them some slack because I'm pretty sure this is like a team of 4 people that have literally the most popular game in the world right now, and have to make sure that every update that goes out is 100% rockin'. Otherwise, they get shit on by a million people on Twitter to their like one community manager who has to go through all of those tweets.
That's a good call, yeah.
So I'm going to cut them some slack on this. I think Microsoft's this being one of the things that they pushed out for the show was a big misstep. Also, a bigger misstep was the Stalker stuff. So Stalker was a main focus of this. They said this is going to be the place for new Stalker news. And then the Stalker segment, all they did was they played a video that for some strange reason, Microsoft put out on their own official Xbox channel 4 hours before this show.
Yeah, that's no bueno, man. Why you doing my boy Stalker like that, you know?
They put out the same video that they were going to show in this 4-hour presentation. People had to wait 3.5 hours to get to a video that Microsoft put out on their own channel 4 hours before the video started.
Yeah, and that's a misstep. Shouldn't be doing that, Xbox. What are you doing? What are you doing over there? Stalker 2 it looks so fucking cool, dude.
And like, obviously, I'm not saying there wasn't good news here. Like 20 games announced for Xbox Game Pass. This is an indie showcase. I know that, as they said on Twitter, that this is more of a thing where usually people go and they see all the indie games and then they put up like videos on IGN and stuff. So it's not usually like this big event. But this just seemed wild because we previously just had a Sony event that was more focused on indie games that was about 30 to 45 minutes long. And Microsoft comes out with a 4-hour presentation.
Yeah, so to cover that, Stephen Totillo, who was the former editor-in-chief until recently at Kotaku, tweeted out, "For those wondering about today's Xbox Indie Showcase, Microsoft usually hosts a physical ID at Xbox event at Game Developers Conference each March. Packs a venue full of cool indie games with devs ready to demo. I'd spend hours there. Loved going. This was that for COVID times." And then Phil Spencer replied, "The GDC ID at Xbox event is one of my favorites. It's just a great place to hang out, play some games, and talk with creators. I missed that event, but I'm glad we could do today's show as an alternative. Maybe going forward, we should do both the physical and online events." And so, yeah, that's basically what this show was for people who are expecting a more streamlined showcase. It seems like the interviews and all the interstitial stuff and all that, it was supposed to be less formal in that regard, but maybe they could have marketed that better beforehand, you know?
Yeah, they just dropped a trailer that was like the ID at Xbox and Twitch gaming showcases coming, and they listed like 4 main games that they were going to talk about, and 2 of those games showed either nothing new or they put out a trailer before the show started with what was going to be shown.
Yeah, so Jaren's right, and we kind of sound a bit negative on this. I say that the negative parts are obviously they advertised it to where it seemed like it was going to be a more succinct, maybe hour and a half long presentation that was then more interspersed over, like Jaren said, fucking 4.5 hours with interviews, and it was a whole goddamn thing. And the main games that they were like going to showcase, 2 of them were very disappointing showcases, if you want to call them that. So that's kind of where the bad news, I think, is that probably all the bad news in terms of how that went?
Yeah, that's all the bad news because in general, we got a lot of cool stuff, and that's what we're going to talk about next, because we did get a lot of cool stuff. My standout, which I jokingly tweeted out was going to be Caleb's like game of the year because it was a fishing RPG, and I always make fun of Caleb for playing fishing games because he always claims that he doesn't just play fishing games.
I don't.
And then he goes to Sea of Thieves and turns the entire game of Sea of Thieves into a fishing game when he plays with his friends.
You got to earn an honest living, Jaren. You can't go thieving everybody. We dig our bait out of the sand, okay? We dig our bait up. We find the right spot for the right fish. If you want to catch a muddy wild splash, you got to go to the wilds, right? If you need to get in a storm and catch a shores stormfish, you got to be in the shores of plenty, Jaren. And so we pick our spot. We fish for a couple hours and sell our earnings for a modest living to a hunter at the Hunters Out the Sea Post, okay? And I've also played an extensive, like 7 days amount of Dovetail Games Eurofishing, but I don't fish all the time.
If we ever get to the point where you're listening to this podcast and maybe we're on like episode 40 and we have thousands of listeners and you're sending things to a PO box that we've given you, I want you to come back to this episode and I want you to just send Caleb fishing related things.
No, please stop. No. Don't do that.
And speaking of fishing, as we were talking about this Xbox event, Moonglow Bay. It was this fishing RPG that is set along the 1980s Eastern Canadian coastline. And this game looks cool. Like, I'm on board for this. The interview that they had around this game was actually one of the more insightful interviews that I saw, where the person interviewing them actually asked questions that were more than, why is your game fun? Why did you make this? I'm a streamer and I interview people now.
Yeah, it's I'm an artist and I like money should have been all the answers.
Yeah, so this game I'm actually excited for. They didn't go too much into the story, but it sounds like you're in a relationship with whoever you choose to be your partner in the game. And they disappear, and you run this one fishing place that catches and like sells fish. Like, your job is to catch fish, but this is an entire town that is scared of fishing, even though it's a fishing town, because of the monsters and the legends that take place in the sea.
It's really cool, and if you guys watch the trailer, like, I recommend, if you don't want to watch this 4.5 hour showcase, go watch the main trailers over at IGN's website. I would say they should be from that day if you look at the dates and shit. Anyway. It has real Stardew Valley vibes. So if you're into Stardew Valley, like watch that trailer and you'll see what I mean. It's like 3D and it kind of like has a Minecraft Roblox-ish look, like in that pixely kind of square shit. I don't know. I don't want its association with Roblox to bring it down, but it looks really cool actually. Even though Jarren made fun of me about it, and it's an actual. It's not like Stardew from what Jarren told me, where you actually like play the game for fucking ever. It actually has like an ending. Like it's like what you say, like 15 or 20 hours. Perhaps
I think they said 8 to 12.
Oh, there you go.
But it could be a little longer.
Yeah, and it has real Stardew Valley vibes though. Like if you're into that kind of game, I would go check that out for sure.
Yeah, and some more of the games that are actually coming to Game Pass that we will straight up have. They showed this Art of the Rally game, which is actually this cool racing game. It's a very artistic take on what racing games are. And it makes it very different than what a traditional racing game would be. And a lot of people have reviewed this game and said that it is like a love letter to driving. So if that's your kind of thing, I'd take a look at that one. I know a lot of people are excited about Astria Ascending because it's Xbox's kind of step towards doing what they want to do, which is cultivating more of a Japanese audience. This is a game, a JRPG that is about 30 hours to around 50 if you want the 100% completion. And I believe this is written by a lot of people who worked on Final Fantasy. So if that's your cup of tea, I'd say that this is a game for you. If you're more of the horror game kind of stuff, obviously everyone's heard of Hello Neighbor 2 at this point. They showed more about that. They did like an in-depth interview. Apparently the main antagonist this time, the guy in the house who's the antagonist from the first game, he, instead of his AI just learning from what you do, apparently his AI learns from what everybody does who plays this game. So he gets smarter and smarter and smarter as more people play this game and give you a much more like intense and difficult experience.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, so that's wild. Moonglow Bay, we already talked about that. That game's coming if that's like your kind of that kind of style game. RPG, kind of like cute almost is a weird way to describe it.
Stardew Valley vibes.
Yeah, Stardew Valley vibes. It seems to have a really interesting story that they didn't want to talk too much about because they were worried about spoiling it. So I'm excited to learn about that, what that is. Narita Boy, that was the Team 17 game. So I got Team 17 right, but I didn't get the game right in the last one. Obviously, we saw Stalker 2. The trailer was cool. It just happened to come out before the show started. And another game of the games that I'm interested in, The Ascent, which is a co-op cyberpunk vibe, intense, like top-down shooter kind of game. So that game looks really cool. And then obviously there's others. I know Caleb's not talking much in this segment, but he was busy during this, so I'm kind of giving you the rundown on it. In terms of games that weren't included in Game Pass, there were some weird games. There was this soup pot game where literally you just cook. You throw a bunch of ingredients into a pot and you cook, and then the food comes out. People were excited about that. I didn't really get it, but that game comes out in August. If you want to
interesting,
buy that. People seem to like it. The person who made it was really passionate about it. She had a cool story about why she made it. Not my type of game, but
that's cool. Good for her.
Somewhere. Yeah. So what games were you interested in, Caleb?
I'm interested in XO1, which I saw the trailer for. I don't know if they interviewed it or anything. It looks really simple, but the vibes are like really, I don't know. It's like there's like his little disc. It's so weird. It sounds so lame when you describe it. It's like a saucer flying around through like these cool ass landscapes with cool music. And it looks dope. Like, listen, go watch the trailer. Look up XO1 IGN trailer and just go watch it, and you'll probably see why it looks cool. I don't know. It seems really simple and chill. But then a real game, like an actual fucking game that I'm interested in, is Exomecha. So the fucking Exo games are what I'm into. But Exomecha looks exactly to me like fucking Crysis. You guys know Crysis, the Crysis 1? It looks like Crysis 1, but then if you watch the trailer, they introduce these giant ass fucking robot mechs that just start fighting each other. And then some giant, not really Horizon Zero Dawn looking, but kind of a different style of dinosaur mech robot shit come in. And it's just wild. As a first person shooter fan and a Crysis fan and a cool fan, it looks cool. I'm down.
The one thing I will say about that game is where it does look like an indie game is impact physics. And what I mean by that is it's the funniest thing in that trailer if you go and watch it as a listener here, or if you've already seen it and you watch it back. the first thing I noticed when I saw that game come live on the stream is when they assassinate people from behind, he kind of like just grabs the guy and shoves the knife in like it is just this very stiff and kind of like like little jab. Like that's the exact sound that I imagine it would be. He goes and then the guy just dies. And it's the most like there's no like impact or like everything in that game looks really cool. And when the mechs fight and the dinosaurs fight and all that kind of stuff, that stuff looks like it's got weight to it. But everything the soldier does, even when he jumps and like lands on the helicopter and that kind of stuff, there doesn't seem to be any like weight to the movements. If that's the one tip I could give to that game, if they can fine tune maybe just a few more like kind of raggish doll physics in it, where when someone gets hit or like hits onto something, there's some kind of rumble shake in the screen, or when you stab someone, there's a little more like oomph to it. Because right now, that's the one part where it looks like an indie game.
Yeah, that's a good call. The physics, I'm not too hung up on, like I know you're not either, but I'm not too hung up on it because it's an indie game, so we expect some problems. But Jarren's right. If you could do something to fix that part of it, that'd be cool. Regardless, as an indie game, that looks dope. We're super excited. So that Exo 1 and Exomecha, and then is it Moonglow is the other one? What are the other recommendations we have over here at the X Block?
My one's Moonglow Bay.
Okay, so those 3 games are the ones we're most excited to kind of look more into here. There's probably some others that look kind of cool, but those are the 3 main ones.
And Stalker, of course, but Stalker's a given.
Stalker's on another level. Like for indie games from the ID at Xbox Showcase we're looking for. Stalker doesn't even count. Stalker's its own thing.
Yeah, and we haven't obviously there were 20 games coming to Game Pass, which we didn't even say all of them, and there are 60 games that were shown. So if you want to know more about this stuff, you can go hit up IGN's articles. They cover all of it. We're just giving you kind of a cursory knowledge of what we were interested in. And I threw out a couple things that I thought based on genres that you might be interested in. So obviously, if you want more of this information, go check it out on your favorite news sites. And I'll try to tweet out the articles if you follow us at XBlock Podcast on Twitter. I'll try to tweet out the IGN one so that you guys can find them if for some reason you're having difficulty finding them.
Yeah, good call.
Moving on to our next story in the X Block. This is more of a Microsoft thing. We're just going to touch on it quickly. Microsoft potentially buying Discord.
The big boys out there.
Yeah, I put in our doc. It means we get big boy articles because it was from the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, I think it was initially reported by Bloomberg. And then Wall Street Journal posted an article that basically confirmed the Bloomberg report, saying that Microsoft was in initially, I think the Bloomberg article said that Microsoft was in talks to buy Discord for like $10 billion, upwards of like $10 billion or more. Then Wall Street Journal came out with an article saying that they were in exclusive talks that were in an advanced stage, and that we could see the acquisition of Discord by Microsoft go through as soon as like next month, which would be April. For those of you wondering, depending on when you listen to this.
And I assume this will be like the Bethesda thing where it takes forever and they have to sort a few things out and get it all ready. But obviously the ultimate thing we want is we want this integrated into the Xbox Party Chat. It would be so much better to have a Discord Party Chat in Xbox Live versus it's like it's the culmination of everything Microsoft was going for. Like if you can play while you talk to your friends in Discord and also like stream your game like you can in actual Discord at the same time through the Discord thing to anyone that's watching in your Discord channel, and just like bringing Discord channels to Xbox and all that kind of stuff. If that stuff can all happen, then this is a huge news. If they use this like they use Skype, where it kind of just becomes part of Microsoft and then they never really do anything with it and it dies, then obviously this is a waste of money. But Microsoft wasting $10 billion is like Microsoft wasting nothing. So
yeah, they acquired like LinkedIn for like 26, I don't know if it was $1 billion like a few years ago. And now they're doing this, and it's more than the Bethesda acquisition if it goes through. Not certain it will yet, but it's seeming like it probably will, based on the amount of money that is being talked about and offered here. And yeah, Jarren's right. Hopefully we see more like this Discord integrated in a substantial, significant way in Xbox Live, and then maybe more so as like on the Windows, ecosystem in general, Game Pass on PC, that kind of shit. I don't know, just a better integration with Microsoft's other shit that they have, if that makes sense, because it's a pretty large company spanning a lot of different areas.
Yeah, we'll talk about this more when they confirm how it'll be integrated with the stuff related to video games.
And I'll just say, I know that you Sony people, a lot of people wanting Discord over there to like be on PlayStation as well. If Microsoft acquires Discord, I'm assuming the only thing keeping Discord from still being, if they integrate it with like Xbox per se and things like that, I would imagine the only thing keeping it from being on a PlayStation 5 would be Sony telling them no. So, because Microsoft's pretty open about that shit. I imagine Microsoft, if they did acquire Discord, wouldn't mind running it on PlayStation consoles, but it would be up to Sony, I would think, whether they would want that.
Also, the fact that it was $10 billion means that you couldn't afford it over at Sony. So, yeah. Good luck with that.
Facts.
I think your annual 2019 revenue, I believe it was, or 2020 revenue was $6.8 billion, so less than Microsoft bought Bethesda for. So anyone who thought they were buying Bethesda or could have bought Bethesda,
I think it's, slightly less. Yeah.
not a chance.
Yeah. So,
you spend an entire year's worth of profit on an acquisition.
I don't even think the main like board of Microsoft and shit even knows that Xbox exists or is a part of Microsoft. That's how little they care. That's how big of a corporation they are.
But also in the X block, actually, here we're gonna briefly talk about something that IGN said about Sony. And I wrote here, IGN giving us a lesson in clickbait. And that was because this article itself is titled, Control Developer Says Sony Was a Bit More Ready for Next Gen Than Microsoft.
All right.
And in that, essentially he's saying Sony stuck with what worked about next gen. But right under in IGN's subtitle here, after they start off with that headline, basically saying that Sony was a bit more ready for next gen than Microsoft, right under that in their subline, they write, says Thomas, so Sony stuck with what worked about next gen, says Thomas Puha, but Xbox's changes may be better in the long run.
That was his quote, actually.
That was his overall quote, yeah.
Yeah, way to go, IGN. Who wrote that? Who's the writer there?
So his real quote, word for word, is Sony stuck what worked. Their development software and tools were pretty stable and good pretty early on. Microsoft opted to change quite a lot of things, which in the long run are probably good, but of course it was a bigger hurdle for us devs early on. We had to write a bunch of different things to take advantage of specific features. The person who wrote this article was Rebecca Valentine.
All right, good job, Rebecca. You nailed it. There we go.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's definitely clickbait to come see, for all the Sony people to come click on it and be like, oh, Sony was a bit more ready than Microsoft. But that's what we have heard, just not in this very outright way, is that Microsoft changed a lot of things for the future of next gen to be better, where Sony very much stuck with what they did in the PS4 and just added an SSD to it.
Yeah, I mean, that's sounds about right. I mean, it makes sense. I would see why, as a developer, it'd be kind of annoying if you had to kind of learn and implement a lot of new ways to go about developing games for a new console, but that just seems like innovation at that point. So
yeah, because as people are saying, like a lot of people have said that we won't really know which console is better until they're both actually reaching the way that they're supposed to be developed on. So Microsoft's first parties here in the next coming years should have substantial like knowledge of the technology. They've had it for the longest. So we'll really see how Microsoft's technology stacks up when we start getting first party games.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even look to like Halo Infinite to be like the forerunner that's a joke, by the way, Jarren. I don't know if you play a lot of Halo.
Yeah, I got
but
it.
that's I don't think that game is going to be the one that showcases the Series X like hardware super a lot. I think it was a lot developed for kind of Xbox One X-ish kind of architecture and shit, from what I understand, following the development of that game. So I would expect more first-party Xbox games down the line to show what the system can do more. But I think, yeah, I mean, the best probably next-gen game for a while is going to be the new Ratchet and Clank game that comes out on PlayStation, because how that takes advantage of the SSD and shit looks super cool.
Yeah, so Sony obviously did some things right. They made it so they were better out of the gate, but then nobody can buy their consoles, so if nobody can buy your consoles until 3 years down the line, does it matter who was better out of the gate?
That's the thing, though, is they look only a little bit better out of the gate, because I think even like on Sacred Symbols that I listened to, I told you people were complaining that the only like games that you can't play on the old consoles on PlayStation 5 are like fucking Demon Souls and Returnal is coming out.
Yeah.
And then, so, they don't have much over there either right now. And then Ratchet and Clank, and that's really cool. But yeah, and you're not gonna be able to buy a PS5 for a long time on the shelves.
Yeah, just like you can't get a Series X. And
Nope.
and something that has come up is Microsoft confirms Network name switch, but Xbox Live isn't going away. So essentially, now it says the Xbox Network as opposed to Xbox Live anymore. They're differentiating them between. So the origins of this story was people saw it start to pop up on their Xboxes.
On the alpha preview.
In the alpha preview, it said Xbox Network.
In various places where it otherwise would say Xbox Live, right?
Yep. And essentially, Xbox Live isn't going away. This is what Microsoft, they provided an additional statement to the Video Games Chronicle. They said Xbox Live isn't going away. We are making ongoing adjustments to create a simpler, more descriptive messaging system for Xbox in different areas. None of these experiences or features will change as part of these updates. That is corporate speak for our next story, which is free-to-play games finally free. And by this, I mean Xbox is cutting the requirement of Xbox Live Gold to play free-to-play games. I assume, being me, I haven't seen other people talk about this yet, but I assume that that by them separating Xbox Network and Xbox Live Gold, they are making this decision so it's not confusing on why you can play Fortnite now when it's free, because before you needed Xbox Live Gold to play any multiplayer game. That's not how this works anymore.
Party chat. There's Party Chat too now. It's free, I think.
Yeah,
right?
Party Chat's going to be free. Playing free-to-play games is going to be free. A bunch of different things that weren't free before are now going to be free. I honestly think that's just why they're separating the two.
Yeah, I think Jarren's right. I don't know if I haven't read a lot of articles about this because I kind of get the story, but if no one's talking about that, like Jarren's saying it, where it's basically the corporate structure of how they're approaching this free-to-play thing, then I think Jarren's 100% right. I haven't heard anybody describe it that way, but now I hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a total sense that what they're doing. So yeah, people were like, Xbox Live's going away, dude, rip in peace. In the alpha preview program, it says Xbox Network, and then people were like, wait, and then Xbox had to come out and be like, wait a minute, no, Xbox Live's still here, but now we have the Xbox Network that's a little more open to a bunch of different other things, and like Jarren said, it makes sense, so nobody panic.
Yeah, I think this just leaked because people saw it in the alpha preview program, like Caleb said, they freaked out. I think if this would have came out and been an announcement, Microsoft would have announced, okay, free-to-play stuff and Party Chat is now free and not part of Xbox Live Gold anymore. Therefore, this will now be called the Xbox Network because you get the Party Chat, you get all of the Xbox Network's features that aren't required for Gold.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
And then Gold becomes its own thing. But this also leads us down a path where what is the point of Gold?
Exactly. First of all, I'll just say, kind of backing up, Xbox Live is such an antiquated name too. Like a lot of people have a lot of sentimental attachment to it, and I understand. But Xbox Live is like, you could kind of retire that and just you could, I don't know, make something else up instead, or like Xbox Live Gold. Why does that even exist anymore? Obviously, it's because the reason, it's a rhetorical question. But the reason is, Xbox Live Gold has millions and millions of subscribers that generate revenue monthly, like fucking clockwork, literally. So Xbox is like, well, why shutter that at the moment? They want to push people to Game Pass, which they tried to do, bumping up the prices, where they were astronomical, and people were like, nah, can't do that. And so they were like, all right, nope. And so they want to push people to Game Pass, but they're like, well, why does Gold even exist now? And they're like, oh, because we just generate millions of dollars every month from these people who are still on Gold, so why cancel it now,
Yeah, this is a move that should have came forever ago. If a game is free to play and you can play it on PC for free, you can play it on Sony for free, you can play it on your phone for free, why do you need Xbox Live Gold to play it? And why is this something, like they said on Twitter, which we tweeted out, why is this something that is taking testing? Like, you're just removing a requirement. I assume now, hearing about this Xbox Network thing, that it's taking time to test because they're separating the two to make it more streamlined and more obvious. That would be my guess. So they're testing the systems, they're calling stuff Xbox Network, they're making sure everything's lined up and everything's ready to go so that they can roll out these features simultaneously and just make it make sense. But this should have been a thing a year ago.
Yeah, and to answer your question, there isn't really a reason for Xbox Live Gold anymore, and not just having a whole Game Pass ecosystem. But the reason on their end is because money.
Money, money, money!
Exactly.
And now everyone's favorite segment. That's definitely not true.
Oh, come on.
Some people's favorite segment, mainly the man who hosts it. You are now listening to the Halo Block.
Hey everybody, I'm Caleb. Welcome to the Halo Block, your podcast within a podcast where we talk about, by we I mean me, talk about all things Halo related, Halo Infinite at this particular point. Leading up to the Halo Infinite launch, they did their 343 Industries over there did their monthly blog post, Halo Waypoint blog post about their production of Halo Infinite and how that's going, so that we don't worry ourselves to death about what the fuck's going on with that game and is it going to launch this year. So they have kind of separated these into different categories over the months, and this month's is relating specifically to the audio of Halo Infinite. So Halo Infinite is going to have, for the first time, I guess you would say, is it 3D spatial audio, right, Jarren? You understand audio better than me. We talked about this a little bit. It's a 3D spatial audio support.
Yeah, it's essentially built from the ground up to use features like Windows Sonic, Dolby Atmos, DTX, that kind of stuff to give you a surround sound experience if you don't have surround sound. That's the easiest way to describe it.
Okay, a rare guest in the Halo block because I don't know enough about sound and Jarren knows more about it. If you want to get really into the Halo nerd shit of it, though, they have I don't know if it was a couple minutes long. I listened to it, and it's super fucking nerdy, dude. Because it's like a couple minutes, and it's just like the sounds of Halo Infinite. And so the audio people put together a compilation of like the general like atmospheric feel and sounds of being on Halo Infinite or playing Halo Infinite. And what the nerds out there are pointing out is that about, I don't know if it's, I can't remember the mark anymore, but if you listen, you can look it up. Just look up the story of what I'm about to talk about if you're interested for some reason. People have heard what they think sound kind of like these weird ass flood sounds in that video. And so people are speculating whether the flood is going to return in Halo Infinite, which I would not put it past them that could happen based on all the lore surrounding the aforementioned on this podcast Greg Bear trilogy of Forerunner books concerning Halo. So the flood could be coming into Halo Infinite now based on that. This is some pretty nerdy shit that's not as cool as them showing like a bunch of screenshots of like the UI and the sniper and the environments at night times. It's really more nerdy and technical relating to the audio. And so it's like, yeah, it's going to have really good sound. And then they had a feature of like, here's some of the cool sounds. And they had people talking about the cool sounds. And so, yeah, if you're interested in the sounds of Halo Infinite, go read up on Halo Waypoint. They have a blog post about it. And then there was another story. It's not later, is it? About what was it? What was the story? The Spartan Griffin guy, that thing going on? Did you have that story in the... Okay. So I guess just to throw this in the Halo block, someone confirmed in a podcast, this voice actor, that this person that a certain character was going to be featured in Halo Infinite, basically. And his name is Spartan Griffin. And apparently he is in the Shadows of Reach book that came out, I believe, in the end of last year. And it's set place, I think, a year after Halo 5. And Blue Team goes back to Halo Reach to get to the planet Reach to get some sort of bullshit. I haven't read it yet. I have to now, but to get some shit to like help fight Cortana after Halo 5. And so it's basically a sequel to Halo 5, like the only kind of sequel shit really relating to the Master Chief that we have at this point. And a character in there who's on Spartan Palmer's team, Spartan Griffin, is apparently going to make an appearance in Halo Infinite. So I gotta go read that book or listen to the audiobook so I can learn about Spartan Griffin. Apparently he's a Spartan 4. So like, Jarren, you know all about Spartan 4s and Spartan 2s. I know you. You know all about this shit, right? Spartan 4s, I think are kind of fucking lame because they're not Spartan 2s or Spartan 3s, which are way cooler. Yeah, exactly. Jarren's on board. So I don't know. Spartan Griffin may be kind of a fucking bitch. I don't know. Spartan 4s, not a super fan of them, but we'll see. So that is your news this week in the Halo block, your podcast within a podcast. Jarren, take it away.
All right. And the last thing in the X Block segment, now that we're back to the real show, 2 things. Basically, Microsoft trying to sell you stuff news. I wish we'd get a cut for talking about it. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, Jarren. I know exactly what you mean.
Microsoft has announced new controllers.
It's hard to describe in this podcast. You really just have to go look at pictures. One of them is a Powerade green. And one of them's a camo red and gray.
And if you'd like these, I believe they're Series X controllers. They're the first actual new Series X and S controllers. So go check those out if you're looking for some new Series X controllers. Hopefully they fix the issues for those ones.
Do the Series X controllers have the issues? Is it the face button things, right?
Yeah, it's the Series X and S controllers that have the issues with the disconnects.
Okay, all right.
And the last thing, also in terms of Microsoft trying to sell you stuff, the Xbox Spring Game Sale will begin on Friday, April 2nd, and will last until Thursday, April 15th, from what it sounds like. And some, hardware and headphone stuff has already started. If you're interested in that kind of stuff, you can go check out the Microsoft store. Otherwise,
Oh, cool.
wait until April 2nd, and you can buy all your games.
What are you? I haven't looked at the list or if anything, whatever is going to be on sale. What are you interested in buying, Jarren? What's on your radar?
I really gotta see. Like, I'll be interested in the really nitty gritty stuff by the time it gets here. Maybe like a couple smaller games that I've been waiting for deals for, and those games won't be in any of the promos because basically every game in a promo we already own.
Have you bought Assassin's Creed Valhalla yet?
Yeah. I own the gold edition.
Okay, cool.
And that is the end of the X Block. And now we'll be moving on to our X Factor discussion. And we've got a treat this time, all right?
Hell yeah.
We have finally had someone write into the podcast.
On YouTube, right?
Yep, they went on our YouTube. I don't want to butcher your name. I'm going to say that it's JLK Lynn. It could be Jilk Lynn, but I'm just going to go out on a limb and say it's JLK Lynn, and you can correct me. And they said, hey, I'm enjoying the podcast. I have a topic/question. How did you get into achievement hunting, and what games would you recommend to get into achievement hunting? Thanks. And thank you for your comment, and we'll definitely answer it.
Appreciate it, Lynn. My boy Lynn out there.
This will be our X Factor for the day. And if you would like to be like JLK Lynn, hit us up. Put your comment on Twitter at XBlock Podcast, or on YouTube. Go look up the XBlock Podcast and leave your comment there. And I will respond to your comment most likely, and I will probably like it. So it's a
great question.
If you want to know anything about us, just reach out. We're more than happy to answer it.
Yeah, like JKO. Was it JLK Lynn?
I'm going to settle on JLK Lynn because that sounds cool.
It sounds better, yeah.
So again, thanks for your shout out. Thanks for asking us a question. Caleb, you can start here.
Okay, so how I got into achievement hunting. I got into achievement hunting, it's gonna be a little bit of a story, but not too much. I got into achievement hunting probably how most people get into achievement hunting, and I've talked to a lot of people on True Achievements and various achievement sessions, and most people seem to get in this way. You're playing on your game, usually you're on the Xbox 360 is when a lot of people started. You're playing on your Xbox 360, and you're playing your favorite game, whatever the hell it is, and suddenly you see a bloop bloop, and then some shit pops up on your screen where it's like, achievement unlocked, fuck the camel. And you're like, oh, dude, I did do, that's pretty sweet, man.
Dude, I fucked that camel too.
And then you get the fuck the camel on your screen, and you're like, oh, that's pretty hype, man. You ignore it, you play a little bit more, and then suddenly, bloop bloop, fuck the goat. You're like, dude, this shit's hype as
Dude, that goat was tight.
Exactly. So then you press the guide button. You're like, what the fuck's this shit about? And you're like, oh, this game has an achievement list, like, of things to do in the game. That's pretty sweet. And so at that point, it's all just kind of history. Usually people come to it in different ways. I got into achievement hunting by the way I just described, playing some of my favorite games. And usually it's for people who have a personality type, who are a little more OCD-ish. I don't want to say OCD because OCD is actually a condition. That's like, so it's kind of actually diminished a bit by people saying OCD a lot, but I'm going to say it. It's OCD-ish and kind of completionist, perfectionist person's mindset. You just want to see a complete list. You get an achievement and you're like, oh man, there's how many? 49? I wonder if I can get them all. And then you try getting them all, and then if you're good enough, you can, and you're like, I did it. I did it all. And as a gamer, it becomes a way to kind of gauge when you're done with the game. So like I play games usually, and I play games for fun. Like, I still have fun playing games, but the way I have fun playing games, which I guess it depends on whether you're a casual or a hardcore achievement hunter. There's a lot of layers and tiers to this, but I'll try to keep it simple. I have fun by going for the achievements. That's what I do. So I'm like, it's a challenge to see whether I can do certain shit in the game. And I know I'm done with the game whenever I have all the achievements, or all the achievements that I can reasonably get that won't take me 500 hours. So I'm like, okay, well, I got all the achievements that I can get in this game. I guess I'm done with it. I move on to the next game. And so I love getting the achievements in like the Halo games, and I started really going for achievements like more hardcore about 2013, 14. Even though I casually got them in games I played before then. Some games to get into achievement hunting. That's a really good question, because there are games with easier lists and way harder lists, and it depends on kind of what you're into. I recommend starting with whatever your favorite game is, or some of your favorite games that you love, and looking at the achievement lists and seeing if there's some things that you could get that are like achievable, easy enough to get, and then go for those, and then see if you can maybe perfect your favorite game, one of your favorite games on Xbox 360 or Xbox One. That's what I would recommend. And it's just more of like obviously it's like a reward system. You get like a bit of a fucking serotonin kick in your system every time you get an achievement. It makes you fucking feel good. But I don't really consider myself addicted to achievements. I just find it a really fun hobby. if you're a person who collects things, you're like a collector of cards or fucking coins or whatever the hell you're into, it also becomes, it's like this in the same vein as collecting, which is kind of a weird way to look at it. But getting achievements or trophies, even if you're on PlayStation, is kind of like collecting something. If you're collecting achievements from games. And it's a cool hobby because unless you're like on PC using console commands or some shit to get achievements, or playing really, really, really easy games, it's a skill-based type thing too. Like if you beat Wolfenstein 2 on Mein Leben difficulty with 1 life, and you have that achievement, everyone can see that you have that achievement, and you got the achievement, and so you're one of the people who have it, and you can't buy it. I mean, I guess you could buy somebody's profile, but you actually earned that achievement, so it's cool. And then I recommend also, if you get really more into it, go to trueachievements.com. I wrote news for them for a bit during my undergrad, and they're really great. They're like the world's largest Xbox community site. And it's a bunch of people on there, and they have a lot of they track a lot of your stats and shit. They have true achievement scores for games, which, you know, you get gamer score for earning achievements. But true achievement score tracks like what the real value would be relative to like how many people have gotten certain achievements in that game and how hard is the achievement, all this kind of shit. And there's a large community on there of people you can talk to and message and like play games with if you're looking for a co-op partner, all this kind of shit. So that's a lot, but Jarren, do you have anything else to add to that? Why did you get into achievements, and how do you recommend this gentleman or lady, probably gentleman, get into achievements?
In terms of the recommendations, I think you nailed it. My number 1 would be go to True Achievements and get set up there. And my number 2 would be, play games that you like. Because I think we've gotten to a point in achievements where it's super easy to get to a high number if you're just willing to buy easy games.
Of gamer score and achievements, yeah.
Yeah, so it's super easy to get to a super high number of gamer score if you're just going to go and buy games. So I would recommend, if you really want to get into achievement hunting and actually have it be something that you feel like you've accomplished something, I would say focus on games that you like. And I know I'm guilty of this sometimes, but I would say try not to get too wrapped up in getting all the achievements, because sometimes that means that you go down a place of not playing specific games that you might want to play, because the achievement list is difficult. And if you're that kind of person who you create your profile and you want it to be like sitting at all those 100%, then maybe play a game that you're really into, but you don't think you can get all the achievements on a separate profile, if that is something that really gets into your head about not being able to complete a game. Like, make sure that it's not an obsession.
That's something if you're an idiot like me. Yeah, if you get really hardcore, I don't even consider it an obsession that much. It's just like part of it for me. I don't know. You could consider it an obsession. I really don't see it that way though. For me, for some people it can be, but I'm just like, oh, yeah. I really work. It's like something you work hard on. Like, I guess someone who makes like a chair and they make a really fucking good chair. Like, you don't want to fuck it up in any way. You want to go fuck up and try shit on a different chair, and you want to keep your really nice, pristine chair. You know what I'm saying?
But in terms of how I got into achievement hunting, so that's actually somewhat of an interesting story. So I always used to be a PlayStation guy, and I think one of the first platinums I got was like Skyrim. I think I just was like, I got all these trophies in Skyrim, and I was like, oh wow, I actually got the platinum. And then I like went really hard into trophy hunting and got like a decent score, but not a huge one. And then I switched. I bought an Xbox when the PS4 was out. I bought an Xbox One to play Titanfall because I really wanted to play Titanfall. And I happened to be in the Rooster Teeth community at the time. I was just talking to some normal people and some strange ones.
What does that mean?
And some more strange than others. I remember that I came in and I said I had just gotten an Xbox and that I wanted to play this game called Sniper Elite. And I was looking for someone to play it with. And out of nowhere, didn't know if the person was like a man in their 40s trying to diddle me, or if they were just a weird person, or maybe they were completely normal. Someone reached out to me and they said, I'll play Sniper Elite 3 with you, but we have to get all of the achievements. And I was like,
I didn't say it that way. I said I have to get all the achievements and you gotta help.
Okay. And then I said, yeah, all right, I'm down for that, because I wanted to play the Sniper Elite game, and then Sniper Elite became one of our favorite franchises.
I premised that with saying, like, I'm gonna play it on authentic difficulty because I go for achievements. So if you're not down to play it on authentic difficulty, then don't worry about it. Like, that's what the premise was. You made me sound like I was like, we gotta get all the achievements. I was like, no, we gotta play it on authentic because there's an achievement to get it on authentic, which is only slightly less bad, but there you go.
Yeah, so I just saw through all the bullshit and understood that we had to get all the achievements.
Okay, good call. We nailed it.
Yeah, and that was also the comment that made me 100% sure that he wasn't gonna diddle me, because he was just way too into getting all the achievements. So I was pretty sure that he was just some guy who wanted to get all the achievements. So that's actually my foray into achievement hunting, is the reason you have this podcast, is because of this goof talking next to me. That's the reason I'm into achievements. And since we started playing Sniper Elite 3, I think I'm up to like almost 300,000 gamer score now.
Yeah, Jarren's really high, and it's funny because he came in late.
Yeah, I'm like 5 or 6 years in. So one day I'll catch Caleb. I've slowly been chipping away 1,000 to 2,000 gamer score at a time each month for the last 12 months. If I just continue that, maybe in 10 years I'll catch him.
He can catch me. That's fine. I think I'm at 454-ish thousand gamer score, and I'm like, I think like roughly 3,000 in the world for gamer score. I don't know what I am in the U.S. But since in about the past year and a half, 2 years, maybe about a year and a half, I've been focusing more in the achievement community. If you're in the achievement community, this is really nerdy for you people who are not. Gamer score is becoming more diluted. Like, it's really easy now, especially with Game Pass and other things, to earn a lot of gamer score. And Jarren and I have talked about this kind of thing before because we're dorks and that's what we talk about while playing games. But yeah, since it's really easy to earn achievements now, I've just been going in my achievement backlog and doing what a lot of other hardcore achievement hunters are doing at this point, which is trying to increase your overall percentage completion. So games that were like, I didn't get an achievement to like beat it on the hardest difficulty, or there was just a hard achievement that I didn't want to get at the time, I'm going back and getting a lot of those. And then I'm just kind of increasing my true achievement score, which is basically my ratio, or true achievement ratio, which is the ratio between the actual gamer score versus how the actual true achievement score, which is how hard it is to get the achievement. So anyways, I'm earning gamer score at a way lower rate right now than I usually have, like where I've earned like 100,000 or 50,000 rather a year or so. I'm earning it way lower now, because I'm just playing super hard shit and old shit and all this nonsense. But yeah, it's a great question. Love talking about it. I would talk about it for another hour, but unfortunately, we don't want this podcast to be too fucking long for you people.
Yeah, essentially, to break it down in terms of what games we would recommend, honestly, play games that you like.
Start with your favorite.
Because starting off your achievement hunting career by me giving you a list of games that will get you to 100,000 by the end of the week isn't really going to give you any satisfaction into achievement hunting.
No.
Like, sure, maybe if Microsoft's running an event where they'll give you $10 in points if you get 1,000 gamer score, then sure, come to us and we'll give you a list of games you can play in Game Pass for free that'll get you to 10,000 points in no problem.
Yeah.
As of just starting out, play games you like. Go sign up for True Achievements, because people there will help you get achievements, and they will post guides if you're confused on what you need to do. And feel free to send us when you get a completion. Like, let us know. Tweet us,
cool.
And we'll retweet, at least until we have too many followers to retweet. But we'll retweet your completions.
Yeah, dude, that'd be dope. And appreciate the question, JLK Lynn. It's very dope of you to write in, and it's a great question.
Yeah, and we hope you continue to enjoy listening to the podcast, and that we continue to at least be entertaining for, I don't know, 6 more episodes?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. And if you guys do enjoy this podcast, shameless plug, feel free to leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts if you listen there, or if you just own an iPhone.
And I think Google.
Yeah, does Google have a rating system?
I think Google has a rating system.
Well, wherever you can rate us, you don't have to. You can do whatever you want. But if you want to leave us 5 stars, that'd be super cool. I think it helps us in the algorithm find new people. I think yesterday, we just got a German listener. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Got a guy in the UK, guy in Germany now, and then everyone else in Canada and the US. So spreading our wings globally.
Moving on from the X Factor discussion, as we kind of meander our way towards the end of the episode, we're going to hop into the FAF. Now, essentially, as I say every week, the FAF meaning a word that is kind of something that is a waste of time. Like if you're at your job and you're faffing about, you're not getting your work done. We consider this news to be faff. And
yeah,
we're going to tell you about it so you don't have to waste your time reading it and faffing about. And my favorite thing about how the podcast went last time, in the last episode we did, I'm going to let Caleb read the title for me, and then I'm going to inform you about what the story is.
Here's what you guys don't know, okay? It's the whole fucking episode. It's the whole goddamn show. I hate it. It's just you and me right now. Jarren's gone. Listen, through the whole, he makes a Google Doc for every episode. That's a couple pages, few pages long, with and it's very actually well made and really, really good. And with all the stories, the sections, whatever we're going to talk about that I can kind of look over and other things. Dude, he puts shit in there that like the way he writes what the stories are, sometimes he just like either it makes me laugh or like I don't even know what he's talking about. And in the FAF, dude, like he just writes. I don't know what this means. Like I don't know what he put in the FAF, but the first thing says Outriders don't want no dick riders. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that's supposed to. What are we talking about?
All right, Caleb, I'm gonna give you insight into my mind just for a second here. It's a scary place, so hold on to your chair. Listeners too. Just be ready. All right, all I'm doing here. Total transparency. I've started naming things in the FAF and keeping them as segments now because when we're big enough to the point where we can sell cool t-shirts, all of these little sayings in the FAF when I talk about specific games will be awesome t-shirts.
Why are you always concerned about merch? Everything's
I'm a businessman.
Or, dude, how are we gonna sell some of these to who? Who would buy these? Who would possibly
You
buy
mean the duty
Outriders?
department?
Don't want no dick riders. Well, the duty department's a good. I'll give you that one. The duty department's
this one,
pretty good.
okay, this one was just quick news. All right, this one was just quick news. I just had to give it to you in a fun way. So one more time, Caleb. What's it called?
If you want a T-shirt that says duty department, if you would ever want that, just like tweet at XBlock Podcast and like, there's no human who's buying a duty department shirt. If I'm the podcast co-host, I'm not wearing that shit.
Dude, you're wrong, and you'll wear it. You'll wear the shirt.
The first story in the FAF is Outriders don't want no dick riders. Jarren, go ahead.
Outriders will permanently brand cheaters. People Can Fly has announced that it will brand cheaters in Outriders by adding a permanent watermark to their hood, among other punishments.
When you said don't want no cheaters, I was like, wait, like in real life? Like people who cheat on their significant other? And you're like, oh no, in the game. Okay.
So you will not be able to matchmake with legit players. Matchmaking will likely take significantly longer. You will still be able to play solo. So essentially, Outriders doesn't want no dick riders. They don't want no shitty people in here ruining the experience of the game, all right?
Yeah, you're kind of right. I mean, that's pretty accurate.
All right, Caleb, hit me with the next one.
The Creator Club.
Okay, now this is a long one, all right? I had to bundle all of these together because for some goddamn reason, the games industry is so focused on when someone leaves a studio and starts another studio, or a creator says, hey, I took a shit yesterday and it made me really think about what happens in the pipes of a toilet. So now I've decided to create this game that is set entirely in the pipes, and we're going to call it Tunnel Snake.
Is this that news with the fucking Assassin's Creed creator, narrative writer who left?
Yeah, see, Caleb, that's just the tip of the iceberg, all right?
Okay.
Because apparently when it's a slow news week, we have to know what every creator is thinking about while he sits on the toilet.
Go ahead, man. I want to hear it.
Veteran Assassin's Creed writer announces he's leaving Ubisoft. This is the only one that I was like somewhat fine with because it also points out that now 2 of the heads of basically the people who have shaped Assassin's Creed have left. So who knows if the next Assassin's Creed game will live up to the previous ones.
Yeah, it's the narrative director of Valhalla, I think, and he was the lead writer for like Assassin's Creed Revelations.
Yeah, Origins and Black Flags too. All right. And the next one in the Creator Club, Kojima Productions likely to announce its next game quite soon. So you haven't said anything. You just said you're making a video game. You're a game studio. I hope you're making a video game and that you can announce it soon.
Yeah.
Next, also still in the Creator Club, Yakuza's producer says he'd like to remaster Cult Shooter Binary Domain. I'd like 1 million people to listen to this podcast.
Me too, man. We all want something. Goddamn.
So I guess shout out to you. They don't even use his name. They just say the creator of this.
God.
Okay, here, finally we got a guy's name. Final Fantasy creator Sakaguchi says his next game could also be his last. All right there, Quentin Tarantino, relax.
Yeah, is Sakaguchi his real name, or are you just being an ass?
No, that's what it said.
Okay, all right. I don't want to be mean then.
I don't know if I said it wrong. It's possible that I said it wrong, and if I did, then I apologize. But that's what I read it as. That part wasn't the joke. The joke was delivered after.
Okay, so it sounds like Sakaguchi is like something that kids are doing nowadays. Like I don't I don't want to be mean though. I don't want to make fun of. There's that's mean, but yeah. Okay.
Former Ghostwire Tokyo creative director opens her own studio and plans a game full of dark jokes.
This entire podcast is dark jokes.
What does that mean? Like,
I don't know.
That's Is this what you have to? Is this how you pitch games to Sony now? Is this what Jade Raymond did? Did she go in and say, "Hey, I want to make a game of lighthearted jokes," and they went, "Cool, you're funded. Like, can I make a game then? I have way bigger plans than full of dark jokes."
The X Block can make such a good game, man.
Like, goddamn, full of dark jokes. Like, what does that mean?
Our shit would get banned in Australia for sure.
Yeah, what's full of dark jokes? Is that like?
I don't know, man.
So she's gonna make a video game where I think she made a horror game last. That was her thing, right? Yeah, Ghostwire Tokyo. So she made like a semi-horror game. So maybe in her next game, it'll be set in Halloween. And when you look across the street, you'll see 2 really tall people and a little person, and they'll be dressed as the Twin Towers in a plane.
Yeah, God, Jarren. Yeah, well, I mean, that would be a dark. So you're not wrong, but yeah. Would I play that? I might play that.
Yo, Caleb, still in the Creators Club. Silent Hill's creators' next horror game teased with new concept art, and it's like a deer in front of a bunch of devil stuff. So it looks like a horror game.
Concept art is always annoying because it's never the game.
I guess it's something.
I saw Halo Infinite concept art. I saw Fable concept art from the new Fable game. Then I'm always like, God, like what does the game look like?
Yeah, I want to see it in motion. It's a game. I'm not buying your painting.
This concept art could have nothing to do with the game at all.
It could not even be in there.
Yeah.
That's why it's a concept. And the last, I believe, thing in the Creators Club, I might be wrong, Amazon doubles down on trying to make games with new studio led by ex-Rainbow Six Siege developers. And by ex-Rainbow Six Siege developers, they mean like they took the entire team. Like basically everybody at the top seems to be involved in this new Amazon studio. And this almost feels like a Google thing. Like Amazon have they even made, like I know they made games yet. They put that one game out and then they put it the only people to ever make a game and unrelease it.
They were like, never mind.
So I don't know. Just like, yeah, I guess Amazon's making games. Woo.
Get hype? ?
At least they got money. They'll probably buy Sony next, and then it'll be Microsoft versus Amazon.
I was gonna say, dude, it's like, like it just goes to show that Microsoft or Xbox knows what they're doing out there, because even Amazon, with all their God-given money, cannot fucking make a goddamn good game.
And now, Caleb, I believe we have moved on to the next segment.
The duty department?
Now, like Caleb said, moving on to the duty department. And please tweet at the X Block if you want a duty department t-shirt. All right?
That would be at X Block Podcast.
At X Block Podcast. Hit me up. Let me know if you want the duty department. JLK Lynn, let me know if you want a duty department t-shirt. Or if you want to follow us on Patreon, maybe that'll be our tiers. We'll start rotating out shirts in the tiers from the FAF section.
Yeah, one day when we get enough people listening.
But here's the duty department news. Black Ops Cold War's mid-season update includes major weapon tuning. Of course, here comes Call of Duty in to tune all the weapons and ruin some guns and make other guns better, so you actually have to play the game.
Yeah, that's what they do, man.
In other Call of Duty news, Eurogamer reports that Activision tells creators of popular Call of Duty stat tracking website SBMM Warzone to shut it down by Monday.
That's kind of fucking lame.
So the Belgian-based co-creators of SBMM Warzone said lawyers representing Activision said a cease and desist demanding the website being shut down, citing privacy concerns. So because they tap into Activision's like actual, I think it's their API, they can grab like stats and things and put them out. But maybe if Activision just put out more stats that people actually cared about, we wouldn't need a third-party website.
Yeah, maybe if they weren't such a bitch. Like True Achievements does a shit ton of stat tracking for Xbox. Like they release like people's decade in reviews and shit like that. And Xbox is like, hell yeah, dude. Sweet.
Yeah, you don't see Microsoft suing them.
No.
Or sending them a cease and desist.
True Achievements is the place people go to, third-party wise, for achievement solutions. And so they're like, that's cool. And then they integrated it into the achievement system on your Xbox, where if you go to any achievement for any game and you press like search for a solution, it takes you to trueachievements.com. Not owned by Microsoft.
Activision doesn't want you to realize how bad you are, and the fact that half the time you're playing against bots because the game's trying to boost up your ego so you spend more money in Warzone.
Activision's so fucking lame.
All right, what's the next segment, Caleb?
Live service news.
A simple one. See, this one wasn't for a t-shirt. Fallout 76's 2021 content roadmap has been revealed, covering seasons 4 to 7. So if you care about Fallout 76, go look that up because I ain't really telling you about it.
Good call, man. If there's not going to be more achievements, I don't care. Seems like they're trying to make this a real, like, actual sustainable. I didn't know they would support Fallout 76 this fucking long. Like, it doesn't seem like an Elder Scrolls Online-esque type competitor, like, or not competitor, but like type of game where it's actually good. So, but they're sticking with it, man.
And if you'd forgotten that PUBG was still a thing, I did. Season 11 includes updated Paramore map and new transport tool. So I guess go check out the new features in PUBG. They come to PC on March 31st and consoles on April 8th.
There you go, dude.
And the worst continuous game, all around turd, Fortnite Zero Crisis Finale will leave the game next week. Hopefully when it leaves, it takes the rest of the game with it.
There you go. Nice.
What's the next one, Caleb?
We're proud of you, Capcom.
Capcom stock soars to an all-time high as Monster Hunter Rise releases.
Oh yeah, I saw that there are places, and I don't think we talked about this in the last episode because I think it's relatively recent. I think I just talked to you about it. But there are like actual companies in Japan that are giving their workers the day off because Monster Hunter Rise is coming out, and they're like, "Well, you're not gonna be here anyway, so everyone can just have, or you'll be distracted because you'll be thinking about it." So in Japan, there are companies literally giving people a day off to play Monster Hunter Rise.
All right, there was one more article in the "We're Proud of You, Capcom" segment, but Caleb nailed it. It was the Japanese CEO gives staff the day off to play Monster Hunter Rise. March 26 is Monhun Day for workers at tech company Mark On. So just at that tech company, you guys get the day off.
I'm sure there's others that just weren't reported on. I'm certain.
There's probably others, but this is the one that broke the news, that got the news scoop. So
got a little ahead of you there on the segment, Jeremy. That's what, because you don't put anything there besides we're proud of you, Capcom.
Dude, I am proud of them. They managed to trick an entire group of people into playing Monster Hunter.
They managed to not be shit like Konami. That's what Capcom did. Capcom's like a Japanese publisher who's like, what if we weren't fucking ass? And then they decided like, yeah, what if we weren't Konami? And then they just started being good again.
All right. And what's the next segment, Caleb?
Seizures, pick-me-ups, and letdown.
Balan Wonderworld game that came out and has been kind of critically panned. Potential seizure-inducing effect patched.
Seizure-inducing, dude. Be the Roman Emperor.
So please ensure that you install the day one patch before playing Balan Wonderworld. If you decide that playing Balan Wonderworld is a good idea, you might already be having seizures, but if you don't install the day one patch, you will be if this is something you suffer from.
Jaren with the zingers.
In terms of the pick-me-ups, BioWare has published new concept art for the Dragon Age game, Caleb, and they phrased this on Twitter by saying, "Hey, at Christian Daily," I assume that's someone who works for BioWare, "I think our fans could use a little pick-me-up. How about some new tasty concept art? If anything, your fans only need a pick-me-up because you're shit and you haven't made a good game in like 6 years."
Since Dragon Age Inquisition.
And everyone is leaving. And only recently, they pivoted Dragon Age away from being a live service to a single-player RPG. Because they were like, yo, Anthem really didn't work out, and we don't want to be the next Visceral Games.
Isn't there trilogy for their, fucking Mass Effect? Isn't that Mass Effect trilogy remasters? Aren't those not out yet? Like, what are they doing with the Dragon Age concept art? Or not concept art, screenshots. Like, what are they doing with that? Like, just go ahead and release the Mass Effect trilogy first, okay? Then we'll move on to Dragon Age.
I don't know what BioWare's doing. BioWare doesn't know what BioWare is doing. I like that they were like, well, now the people who were working on Anthem will go over and work on Dragon Age, and I'm like, dude, keep those people away.
Yeah, for real. Far the fuck away.
Send them somewhere else. Like I don't want them to be fired because that's uncalled for, but I want you to split them up so you can put them in other departments away from each other so that they're at least surrounded by better people.
Yeah.
In terms of letdowns, Back for Blood has been delayed to October 2021.
Ooh.
So there you go.
I mean, it'll probably make the game better, but
I guess if you're let down by that, you don't get it as soon as you thought you got it. Oh no.
It's a co-op game. We could have played it, but I guess it's probably a good time for a co-op game in October. So not a super bad thing.
Is it though? October's usually the massive time where everything comes out. This seems like
everything's getting delayed.
This seems like, hey, our game was gonna sell well, and then we delayed it to October. That's what this sounds like.
I don't know, man. It's a good time. It's Halloween. Back for Blood. That time.
Yeah. I guess it fits. It's just if the games that are coming out actually come out, then
That chance.
then they're in hot water.
We'll see. I guess we'll know when it shows up.
Hit us with the next topic, Caleb.
Hype or flop?
All right, Caleb, I'm going to read you something here and you're going to tell me hype or flop.
Okay, I'm down.
Ghost of Tsushima to receive film adaptation.
Flop.
Yeah, you don't think that one's going to be good?
It's based, well, as someone pointed out, because I said it 19 times, but it's an Xbox podcast, so I'm just letting you know how I know. I listened to a PlayStation podcast, and someone on there, Chris Reagan, YouTuber, made the point that the entire Ghost of Tsushima whole point is that it's based on samurai movies. So it's based on samurai's movies, and it has like a mode where it's like it's some sort. I haven't played it, but it has some sort of mode that references samurai movies in the game, and so now they're making a movie about a game that's based on samurai movies. So it's super full circle and really stupid.
And also, Sony can't make movies unless it's their Sony Classics division making movies or it's their Marvel movies. Other than that, Sony flops hard at like every other movie they make.
Yeah, I've seen I think a lot of their movies, so it's pretty true. But it seems like they're doubling down on making like their gaming IP into some visual like fucking movie shit and TV shit. So they're really into that, and maybe that'll work out for them.
They've decided their way to compete is to become Disney.
Yeah, someone else made the point that they saw the Sonic movie, and they're like, oh, this works, and then they're like, oh, let's just make a Ghost of Tsushima movie. Why not?
Or Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, maybe the Ghost of Tsushima movie will actually be good, but there are a lot of like those types of movies that don't do well.
Sony makes bad movies. Everyone forgets that Sony makes bad movies.
Jarren graduated, by the way, you guys don't know. Jarren is a graduate of film school. Literally, he went to film school. So when he talks about film and cinema and other things like that, I might kind of pay attention to what he's talking about because he might know a thing or two.
Yeah,
so.
Sony Classics makes great movies, but Sony as a whole usually makes bad movies. So good luck to Uncharted and Ghost of Tsushima.
The Last of Us HBO show should be good.
That should be fine. It's with HBO.
Yeah.
Now, Caleb, hype or flop? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Rampage director attached to Sniper Elite movie.
Oh, dude, I was gonna tell you about the Sniper Elite movie, but I was gonna add it in the faff at the end and say this was the faff for us. But but you had it in here, dude. Yeah, that's pretty hype, man. I'm down. Super hype.
See, we're hype, but the fact that it is the Rampage director, not a great sign. But I'm hype that Sniper Elite is getting out to the masses.
Yeah, Rebellion is I don't know if it's initially or if it's like a film studio like there in the UK. Like I've looked into it. Remember like Rebellion, like they make movies and shit, right?
Yeah, so
like a small projects and things. Yeah, so like they're putting the Sniper Elite game and they're making a movie out of it. Now for Sony, that seems kind of dumb because it just feels like they have better things to do. For Rebellion, it's just kind of like them spreading their wings a bit, kind of getting they have a bit of a film presence there. It just seems like they're getting out there more because not enough people know about Sniper Elite and play it enough.
And I don't know enough about Rebellion to tell you if they make good or bad movies, but
I was going to say, this sounds like it won't be good.
At least the Rampage director, we know the movie will be entertaining. It probably won't be great, but it'll be entertaining.
The reason Jarren and I care about this and why it's in the faff is because we're a very targeted audience as to why we would care about this. Whereas Sony seems like they have better things going on than making a Ghost of Tsushima film.
All right, Caleb, hit us with the next topic.
A precious, ugly fellow. What is that? Is that me?
We finally got a brief look at the Gollum game.
Oh, yeah.
Lord of the Rings Gollum won't be out until 2022, but the developers at German studio Daedalic Entertainment shared a brief snippet of gameplay during today's Future Games show. So if you want to see a quick trailer of that, go check it out. It's still people showing games way before they're supposed to come out. That's why it's in the faff. So really, it's really not that important. I just figured I'd throw it in there.
It's a stealth game, and a lot of people are making the point that it's a major Lord of the Rings type of release or Tolkien release that isn't in the Peter Jackson kind of art style and interpretation of Tolkien's universe. I am a big fan of Peter Jackson's interpretation of Tolkien. A lot of people aren't, though, and some people aren't, because everyone loves those movies. But yeah, so it's a bit different in that regard. It's not like Shadow of Mordor or that kind of thing. It's its own kind of art style and interpretation on the lore. I'm a Lord of the Rings fan, but I don't really care about the Gollum game that much. But yeah. So.
All right, hit us with the next one.
Smile for Daddy. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I just wanted to hear you say that one.
Okay. Well, I don't like it.
Every Stalker 2 NPC has a one-of-a-kind smile.
Oh, yeah, I did see that, yeah.
And that's all we need to talk about there. It's really not that important. Who knows if that even makes the final cut of the game, because it seems like a lot of resources for, especially in a game where 90% of the time you're wearing masks because the whole thing is irradiated.
Yeah, and who cares?
All right, Caleb, the last one. What is it?
Let's get physical. Physical. Yeah, it just says let's get physical. I don't know.
The Medium and Observer System Redux getting physical editions through Coke Media.
Oh.
So if you
I know,
really
that's
wanted
interesting.
to have a Medium physical edition, or a game that came out 2 years ago and is now being remastered physical edition, Coke Media's got you covered, because
I guess.
they just like making money in every avenue possible.
I don't know how they make so much fucking money. Like what they're doing. They have like fucking 50 studios or some nonsense working on games. I don't know.
Now we stretch the definition of physical by talking about things that are in real life. This NBA 2K21 Lego build uses 42,000 pieces to create Zion Williamson. Now, if that bored you to tears, we're on the same page.
All right. Fucking sports are for nerds.
This $900 Resident Evil statue is seriously gross. Now, you know what I have to say about that?
What's up, man?
I'm just gonna play games journalist here. I think GameSpot is they're body shaming this statue.
I agree. We should write our own piece about how their piece is ass.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. Why say that they're gross?
Yeah, indeed. You can't call people gross like that. It's not cool.
And the last one in Let's Get Physical. Now even BMW's cars have microtransactions.
Oh yeah, I read that.
High beam assist, video recording, and even fake engine sounds can all be bought in the car.
Dude, I'll make your fake engine sounds for how much they're charging for that shit, dude. I'll sit there and go vroom vroom brrr, as we drive down the road, dude.
And that is the end of the faff. Give me some more engine sounds, Caleb.
Brrr.
All right. Now we're going to briefly talk about Game Passer gameplay, as it will be important next episode. Every month we spin a wheel that is only involving Game Pass games that we haven't played, or one of us has played in very specific examples. When we spin this wheel, it lands on the game, and we have to at least play some portion of that game by the end of the month, and then we give you a review of that game, and then we spin it again and choose an entirely new game at random.
Yes, and when we review that game, we tell you whether you should game pass or game play it.
There you go. And this month's game is Dirt 5. So next week, we will give you our report on whether you should game pass or game play Dirt 5. And everyone, tweet at XBlockCaleb and tell him to install Dirt 5.
No.
So he doesn't forget.
You know what? That's not a bad idea, actually. You know, I was going to say no, whatever you're going to say, but that's actually a good, yeah, remind me to do that, because I do need to play at least 5 hours of that game, so.
And now we're quickly driving on to the outro. Give me some more car noises, Caleb. All right. Thank you for listening to the XBlock podcast. We appreciate you listening, and we've seen tremendous growth in the podcast, and we really do appreciate it here at
Super cool.
At the XBlock podcast. So that's cool. From me and Caleb, thank you for engaging with it. If you'd like to engage further, you can find us on Twitter at XBlock Podcast. You can find us on TikTok at XBlock Podcast. You can find us on YouTube. Just look up the XBlock Podcast. You will find it at this point. It has enough views. On Instagram at XBlock Podcast. And you can look up the XBlock Podcast on Facebook. I don't know why you would, but you can. And the major podcasting platforms we are on are Google, now that it finally works, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and we come out every Monday at 5 a.m.
Yes, Eastern Standard Time.
You don't have to be there at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You don't have to be there, but that's when it comes out.
I'll mention we also have some views on Overcast, some listens on Overcast. So yeah, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Overcast, and then if you want to see us on YouTube, we post there as well, or Patreon, patreon.com/XBlock Podcast. We don't really do anything with Patreon. We just have it there for if you for some reason want to support us and help Jarren get a new PC to edit this podcast on. So no tiers, but if you want to throw us a couple bucks or whatever you want to do, feel free. Or if not, that's cool too. Just want you to listen. If you have any questions or comments for the show, YouTube comments, or you can tweet at us at XBlock Podcast.
And the one thing about Patreon, at least in the current way it's formatted, obviously we can't promise 5 years down the line or something, but as it is currently formatted, every dollar of Patreon goes directly back into the podcast.
Yeah, like 100%. Gotta get Jarren a new PC to edit.
If you do actually donate money to Patreon for us to work on the show, do not fear. I will not buy McDonald's with your donation. Everything will go directly back into making the podcast better.
It's true. It's true.
And that is all for the X Block podcast today. We thank you again for listening. And Caleb, one more time, you know what I want. X Block out.
Thanks for listening to the X Block. New episodes every Monday at 5 a.m.